Good evening, good afternoon. How is everybody doing? We are live. Dave is also celebrating Friday the 13th, the first one on his channel. Go check him out too. Guys don't have to stay here. You can watch afterwards. I'm probably going to be shorter than Dave. You know how I like to work these things. Like to do quick little episodes, just get to the facts and get your thoughts and move on. Because like I said in a previous stream, your mind can only handle what your butt can take. And sitting around watching me for an hour and a half or two is really not going to do anybody any good. So I hope everybody is doing well. It's a rainy day here in Jersey. Hopefully Mother's Day weekend for the rest of you will be fine. And wishing a happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. Happy Mother's Day, you mothers. All right, Chester's here. Lord Kev is here. Nick is here. Jeannie Winnacombe is here. Byron is here. Dream Villain is here. Jordan Decker is here. Tiona's here. Hey, Tiona. Okay, and we'll see how many people roll in throughout the show. Like I said, very quick episode. I don't have anything to show that I grabbed over the weekend or grabbed over the week. So, yeah, I mean, I got a pen. That's about it. Okay, so here we are. This is going to be round 6. We're going to try to defend Halloween 5. Hey, Darren, what's going on, buddy? Adam's here. What's going on, Adam? And John, what's going on, John? Halloween 5 is the black sheep of this franchise, right? Nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody wants to mention it. And every time anybody talks about it or mentions it, we make fun of it. But there's some place in people's tears where this movie is held in high regards. And let's, hey, Eric, let's talk about it. Now, I've listened to interviews with the cast and crew. I have also watched the movie this week about 3 times. And I think I got a better understanding about what this movie could have been and what this movie should have been. And if you listen to the director, Dominique Girard, he will, I'll put some quotes up there. You'll get a better understanding of what he was trying to do. And at the end, we're going to see where this movie went wrong. But I think we could talk about it and we can get enough people to say, yeah, it really isn't that bad when we get down to the nuts and bolts of it. So, Flavio right here says, I can't defend that damn cop clown music. Well, we'll get to that. I put, you'll see what I mean. I picked a category. Most of the negatives about this movie I got in here, and we're going to go through them, and we're going to see what the director, Dominique, has talked about it and the reason for putting it in. And at the end, I'll tell you what the whole problem with this whole movie is. And then we'll see if we can defend it. But I think we're going to be pleasantly surprised after I'm done. Okay, let's move on to the first one here. Let's see, defending bad movies, Halloween 5, round 6. All right. So we all know, here are the facts. Released October 13th, 1989, with a budget of $5.5 million, 11.6 at the box office, 12% on Rotten Tomatoes, 36% with the audience score. Now, ladies and gentlemen, that budget, as I learned from the interviews for the past week coming from Dominique, he was supposed to get residuals, according to him, in his contract. If Variety came out and said that this movie has made $55 million worldwide, he gets like 33,000 of a million. So he gets some residuals. It was something kind of foggy math like that. Hey, Shamrock, what's going on? Jordan, the French can't defend anything. Well, he's also part Swiss, which still doesn't make any sense. Whatever. So according to him, the Hollywood Reporter published that this movie made about 55 or more worldwide. And Mustafa Akkad said, nope, it has to be the other magazine. It has to be Variety. And that didn't go over too well, but they've had fond memories of working with each other. Chester here says, every time I watch Halloween 5 on AMC, I did notice the description that said Uncle Mike, not Michael. The score by Hallworth was good. We'll get to that in a second, Chester. Okay, so there are the facts. 12%, 36% from the critics and the audience, respectively. October 13th, 1989, budget 5.5, 11.6 at the box office. So it made some money. I mean, I saw it. I mean, after seeing Halloween 4, I wanted to go see this movie a year later, and they only had 6 weeks to shoot. And we all know the famous line that Dominique says, or famous lore, I should say, about this movie on how Dominique got his job as a director. He met Deborah Hill at a convention or a film festival and introduced him to Mustafa Akkad. And Mustafa Akkad sat with him, did a preliminary interview for him to get this job. And he basically says, do you want to make Halloween 6? And Mustafa slammed his hand on the desk and says, that's none of your business. And basically got him to say, yeah, of course I do. Dominique picked up the script that was written previously and threw it in the trash. Everyone has admitted that. Everyone who was in the room during that time has admitted that as well. And that seems to be how he got the job. He actually had the balls to stand to Mustafa Akkad, who was really a problem on set and behind the scenes because, he was the guy in charge of Trancas at the time. And he basically told the line producer, keep everything under budget, and then told Dominique, I want it to be as good as you want it. Okay, so he's basically telling him, I want you to make me a really great pizza that's gonna knock my socks off. But I only pay $1 for it, and I only want it to make me live. So it's going to be bread, sauce, and cheese. It's not going to be the best pizza in the world. So that's what he did. So I think Mustafa behind the scenes I think he loved a little bit of chaos and people coming to him for questions. But when we get down to it, when we get through the next slides, you'll see where some of this movie went, I guess, out to left field for some of us. But yeah, let's take a look. Jordan here says, I bet they never hired anyone who stood up to Akkad again after that. I don't know. I think the only one who actually could stand up to Akkad is probably Carpenter and Hill. Other than that, people were afraid of him. That's what through many interviews with him, talking to people about Halloween and what people are talking to Mustafa Akkad, have said he is a very, very stern and very frugal person. So yeah, I mean, let's get to it. Okay, here's what the critics are saying. So we have Richard Harrington from Washington Post says it's a prime example of the principle of diminishing reruns. I think he meant returns, but reruns, whatever. And Stephen Holden from the New York Times says a bit more refined in its details than the conventional horror movie. So he kind of liked it. And then the TV Guide, if you guys remember the TV Guide, put a little hand up there. Say, I do. And I remember they used to have the TV Guide on the television. You hit the button and there it says TV Guide. And now we just have guides that are coming up. They said frustrating, confusing, loud, and offensive. Frustrating could be one. Confusing, definitely. Loud, I don't know. I mean, there's going to be screaming in these movies no matter what. And offensive, I mean, maybe to the Halloween fan and the formula that 1, 2, and 4 presented before this, possibly. Jordan Decker says, I do. Stephen Ross says, TV Guide has it right. Eric, yep. Eric's, I think you do too. Yeah, TV Guide. I think for a lot of people, summed it up for everybody. 5 words there: frustrating, confusing, loud, and offensive. All right, and Liana says TV Guide was for people with money back then, the rich folk. TV Guide, everyone's drinking coaster in the 80s. Yep. And then Steve Ross says, I had a TV Guide. If you had a TV Guide, you don't need the TV. If you know what movie that's from, let me know. Radio Times. Is that what they called it, Darren, over there? Radio Times? Is that one of those did you guys have like just radios instead of TV? With a guy just going, next here on the Phantom, coming up, Little Orphan Annie. Maybe it's that. It's the Horror on Tap. Hey, what's going on? Check out the show, ladies and gentlemen. Stephen Holden is fired. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Jordan. Check out his channel. Check it out. He's very good. He's very good. I don't know why it took you so long, buddy. Thank you, Shamrock. Lost Boys. TV Times, Radio Times. We all had a subscription to the TV Guide. Big money. Now they're worth money. If you get one for like Laverne and Shirley or something like that, or the A-Team or the Fonz on the cover, mucho bucks. Dare says, yep, that's how the BBC started, and they never changed the title. Shh. Get with the times. All right, moving on. Now, the next slide I thought it was interesting because this is what I tried to go into deeper. I really am trying to defend this movie, and I'm going to try to do a good job. When you go into Rotten Tomatoes and you find critics, blurbs about movies, you click on the link and usually it doesn't go anywhere. You get the 404 error, or it takes you to another website that they printed off of, something from AOL.com at the time. Well, if you go into places like Wikipedia and you type a movie up and you go under, reception and you go for critics, and there's that little number there that they put on the footnote that tells you where they got their information. If you click on that, it usually takes you to an article or somewhere where it actually, mine took me to the Library of Congress, where all these news clippings that had to deal with Halloween came up. So I thought it was very interesting. So look at this news article right here, coming from Malcolm Johnson from the current, I think it's Current, right? Current Film Critic. It says Halloween 5 is the best slasher since the first. Now look at Michael over there, and look at the caption below in bold. The rubber-masked villain is on the prowl once again in Halloween 5: The Revenge of Michael Myers. I never heard anyone call him the rubber-masked villain before. But if you read this really quick, this guy is praising it. And it is nothing that hasn't been done before in horror movies, because in about the third paragraph, first column, he says, rather ingeniously, Halloween 5 picks up where Halloween 4 ended, even reprising Michael's fiery cockiness for those few poor souls who have somehow forgotten how the Michael Myers problem was solved the last time around. Okay. So he's actually, I want to say something at the end that this, if you look at what I'm going to say towards the end, there's another movie that basically is almost a carbon copy of Halloween 5. There's few little tweaks, but we'll get there. But this guy actually is praising it. He's actually, I don't know if he's given it 1 star that says it's fair, because if you look above where in the middle column, middle section, There's a star above Ellie Cornell's character's name, Rachel, at the top, and there's a star, which he's calling it fair, but yet, why would the title be the best slasher since the first? We just read headlines, don't we? So it's rated R. This film contains enough stabbings and shootings to satisfy most slasher addicts, some teen nudity and promiscuity, and an ordeal for little Jamie that no child should be forced to watch. Okay, I mean that's part 4. I think there was more shootings in part 4, wasn't there? Yeah, there was more shootings because the only shooting that was done in part 5 was at the police station, right? I mean, unless you count Myers' house, but that wouldn't be considered like a lot compared. Jordan Decker. Malcolm Johnson is also fired. Jordan also says, bottom right says, get teen nudity. Was there actually nudity in this? It's been a while. I can't remember. There is no nudity. The only time you actually see any nudity is Sammy and Spitz in the barn. And even that was just a low cut. It was him pulling down her top a little bit and maybe a little panty showing. But other than that, maybe they're talking about Spitz, getting naked. He was only half naked. How do you keep your overalls on while you're trying to do the deed? Does that make any sense? I mean, she's got to be uncomfortable. She's in hay. And considering where those cats were found, they're using that hay for litter. Go to the doctor. Yeah, Steve, that's right. Liana says he overheard a girl he had a crush on at work. Says she liked it. He was working an angle. Yeah. And then there's no nudity. That's right, Steve. There's no nudity. I don't like the nudity in these movies. The first one you can get away with. The second one, of course, everyone likes sexy nurses, but the boogeyman is not there for boobies. The boogeyman is there for the babysitter. I don't want any nudity. Kelly Mika, Kathleen Kidmont almost gave me a heart attack. There was side boob there. I couldn't handle it. It's not about that. So I didn't want anything in part 5. I told Dominique, no boobies. No boobies. This is not what Halloween is about. I don't even want to see, anything like that. Keep everyone covered up. I like everything covered up, so you don't have to see any boobies. Yeah, you're right, Pat. I mean, that's really it is a gray area, isn't it? If you freeze frame Rachel in the shower, you get a flash of a little bush, but it's I don't think it's her. Isn't it a body double? You can still see cheeks, which they blur out in the movies on cable on Fear Fest. But it's a frosted shower curtain, so I don't get that either. The boogeyman should be the booby man. The boobies, there's boobies around Michael all the time. I get that. No, don't want that. No, don't want anyone mad at me. It's not Halloween is not about getting boobies. So Dominique, don't do that. Jordan Decker said I would have pushed to be naked with Tammy Glenn. I would have quit if I couldn't have been. Would have continued to be naked even if I got fired. Yeah. It is. Be all right, Pat. It probably is a body double. Hey, Airborne Rocker, what's going on? Yep, it's a body double. Rachel was too prude to show. Get the 4K and see what happens. And let me know. It's a body double. We all know. It's 3 seconds, Okay, let's talk about what we hate. Now, I changed the title for this. Okay. Really quick, though, here's the merch you can find for Halloween 5. Besides, we most of us, Pat included, we have the tin. There was a DVD that came in a tin box, metal tin. and it looked like it was a CD-ROM from a game. I'm not going to get it, but yeah, it come with a little booklet. And I had Greg Nicotero sign it, and he was looking through it. He's like, I haven't seen anything like these in years. So he's looking through it. Other people were watching. I saw him at Monster Mania, and he started going on about Wendy Kaplan and how, if you watch the documentary, there was people that were dating. Well, my past statement I just made a few seconds ago, you can figure out who was dating. And then he made a derogatory remark, and then he signed his little name. And we moved on. Hey, Maestro, what's going on, buddy? Hey, Logan. Hey, love. So you get the H5 doll, which I have, or figure, which I have in my closet somewhere. You can get that mask still, and the Halloween 5 trading cards, I think, are online, going for at least at a minimum of $75 because nobody gets it. Got it right away, and now I don't think anyone wants that. I think the ones that sold out the most Trick or Treat Studios were the original ones that came with steel plates, and H4. I think so, but I didn't get the H5 one. I don't have an H5 mask, but I do have the Trick or Treat Studio action figure. Other than that, it's DVDs, T-shirts, posters, anything you can buy right now. All right. Are we moving on to the reasons why we should like this movie? Okay. Don't hate me. We're going to do this. We're going to do this together. If you're all in a circle and we all hold hands and we all say, I like this movie, there is no problems. If there is a problem, I can overlook it. If we all say that together, we can get through this, because I don't think this movie is that bad. Spoiler alert. I'm not saving it to the end, what I really think. I don't think this movie is that bad after I read, watched interviews with the cast, the crew, and seen the movie 3 times this week. I know Dave and I and Darren reamed it out on the Slaughtered Lamb, and Dave on his channel actually said, Michael Myers is around kicking stones underneath the tree. We'll get to that. We're going to get to that, and we'll talk about that. Now, I just put on the next few slides about how we are the majority of the problems we have with this movie. And then we're going to talk through it. Okay? Here we go. 34 of you watching. Thank you very much for showing up. I appreciate it. Okay. So, what you shouldn't hate. The bumbling cops. Okay. I know the music was awful. Do you know who allowed that music to be in? Gerard allowed it. But Alan Hallworth put it in as a goof. And Dominique just said, leave it in. He had enough. So he says, I feel I allowed the comedy aspect to go a bit too far. The cops, or should I say the penguins, as he called them, as he used to call them, came out in a too obvious way. Yeah, the music did it. The music did it. However, take the music out. Other than that, they're not bumbling. Alan Hallworth put that in. And Dominique's whole thing about this movie, about doing Halloween 5, is to let a lot of people's guards down. 1 through 4, everybody knew what they were getting. Halloween 5 needed to be different. Ladies and gentlemen, we're seeing it all the time in movies. We're seeing it in every horror movie that's coming up. Give me a horror movie that's been consistent. Give me a horror movie that has had the character from the beginning of its series, the first movie, last as long as a 5 or 6 without dying or mentioning that they died or being in every single movie. It's it's not there. It's not there. And then, ladies and gentlemen, we were so happy in Resurrection when Laurie died, weren't we? We were hoping. You have to admit, though, Laurie Strode in 18 Kills and Ends was one of the most annoying people in the franchise of the Blum franchise, the David Gordon Green directed trilogy. You have to admit that. It's Logan says here, those sound effects are dreadful. However, the slower score of the theme wasn't that bad. He admitted they shouldn't have put it in. It was comic relief. Again, 6 weeks to make this movie. Mustafa Akkad wanted out really quick, and they were just, I think him and Alan Hallworth were like, watch this. And people who saw this in the theater, and I remember this vividly, that people were kind of laughing a little bit. We don't really get too many laughs in horror. I think sometimes when Freddy does something, he says something. And Jason, do we laugh at his kills? I think we do, some of us. Thank you, Maestro. Hey, Scott, what's going on? Maestro says, I agree with that. Yeah, I mean, it's just, it's breaking the audience's force field and pulling down their guard. Well, pulling down their guard, making sure that, if you heard that music, and then when they hit each other, when they said too bad, we're loud, thank God we're lousy cops, and he nudges them. Now imagine if Michael came up right at the end. There was a sting. Everyone felt, that's oh my God, it's so corny. That would have been great, but they didn't time it right. But he admits this can't be the reason why this movie gets ruined. These guys are only in 2 scenes. Well, they're at 3 scenes, or 3.5 if you want to count the one guy at the other side. They're at Rachel's house. They're at the hospital. They're at the Tower Farm. And then the one guy is at, Bill's gas station, 5th and Main, Cookie Woman. So, hey, Blake, what's going on, buddy? I appreciate that, Blake. Thank you very much. So, Bumbling Cops. If this brings the movie down for you, don't skip it, okay? Then there really isn't much to go on. They're only in 4 scenes, 3.5 if you count the one guy, like I said. It shouldn't be the reason to bring it down. You shouldn't hate this movie just because of these 2. They actually did a fairly good job. And if they were at age 45 or going to be at age 50, I definitely get their autograph. I go up there and say, you guys, these guys are famous. They're famous for the wrong reasons. And they act very well. Eat it, Harvey. That's him. That's that one, the blonde tall guy at the end. Okay, let's go. A lot of people are saying that they don't like Mute Jamie. Now, Gerard also says Jamie had seen herself in a position of stabbing her mother. I had to give her a possibility to redeem herself, so I wished her handicapped in some ways. I thought to take away the speech ability of a young girl was a heavy punishment and a difficulty she had to overcome. From there, she could make the journey of becoming a hero. Now, there is something about this. Now, I'm going to get John Jones's comment here really quick. John says, the Bumbling Cops used to bother me, but honestly, they're growing on me. I find them hilarious. That's what I'm talking about. If they were to be cut, admit to me right now, ladies and gentlemen, be honest. Honesty is always the best, and it makes you a better person. If they were to edit Halloween 5, it took the cops out, because you can, and it doesn't affect the story at all. If they were to take it out, or take that music out, would you miss it? Would you miss it? I don't see how they could do it in the first part with the, with them coming out of Rachel's house and saying nothing above, nothing below. Now, if they took the music out and they were just there in that scene, would you guys miss him? I would. Yeah, Jordan. Yep. I wished her handicapped it. It's that. Lord Kev says that picture is of my local cops watching my drunk ass dance on the bar pantsless at my local pub. Yeah. You know what? The cops are better than Evil Dies Tonight. Liana, there you go. How about this? Right now, do you want the cops at Halloween 5 or do you want Sheriff Barker? There you go. So, right here. So, Jamie's had a traumatic experience. She's mute. She can't really talk. She has to talk through Billy. Billy's the only one who can understand her. Billy has a stutter. It's kind of counterproductive, but you know what? She can usually write something down. Or maybe she can only draw animals. I don't know. But she sees everything because if you want to believe that evil is inherited, she touched Michael and passed on evil, or when one form of evil dies, it has to leave and go into the next vessel. You could think all that stuff on why she did it. I think this. I have a theory about this. And then Pat, my man, take the cops and 5. Screw Barker. And then Tiona says, I want Sheriff Barker. Nick says the cops. I actually really like Sheriff Barker. He was just misused a bit. He is misused. And it was misused to the third one. I don't think even he had one line. Now we do. Such missed opportunity. Cops all the way. I think you guys are about 50-50. So I'm thinking this. Let me know if this theory works for you. Her mother didn't die when she stabbed her stepmother, her foster mother. She held herself back somehow, or maybe she didn't have enough strength. So she's not even evil. She just is mute because she was becoming Michael, and since Michael was still alive, she wasn't full Michael, full boogie man, full boogie woman. And because her first victim, the mother, didn't die, she went basically catatonic. She became a mute, but was still able to function highly and still communicate somehow. Michael didn't when he was 6 because Judith died. He committed the act. His victim died. Full circle. So from when he was a little kid, because we don't know there was anything wrong with Michael from birth up to age 6. Judith said he's around here someplace, so they got him dressed. He went out trick-or-treating, or she took him out trick-or-treating, and they came back. But there was nothing wrong with him until he stabbed Judith. And then he shut down. And then he waited patiently for 15 years to come out of the hospital, to go and do something, to do more murders. Jamie didn't kill her stepmother, her foster mother. So there was no full circle. It only went halfway. She committed the act of matricide, I think is the correct term. So she only became half catatonic. So if she had killed her mother, she'd be dead face. I think that's a good way of thinking about it. She got the evil from Michael. She got some of it, not all of it. She didn't kill her stepmother, her foster mother, all the way. So there was really no full circle of evil. And just like Michael shut down once his sister died, a relative died. And you think about it, Jamie was being, thank you, Shamrock. If you think about it, Nobody came in and saw Michael besides Loomis and hospital staff, of course. That's all we know. Because after, remember, Michael was in the hospital in Smith's Grove for a few years. Maybe I don't know how long he was in there for before the parents died in a car crash. So nobody came and saw him. Rachel had most likely her foster parents. I'm sorry, Jamie most likely had her foster parents visit her. Rachel, Loomis, other kids, Billy, Tina. She had a loving circle around her to stop her from going to stop her from becoming evil. So that's why we don't see it. Why? Stay. You can stay. You can stay. Then don't leave. Tenian? Is that your name? Tenian 420? Stay. But that's what I think. That's my theory. Take it for what you will. Okay. Next one. You shouldn't hate the Man in Black. So Gerard says, Dominique, Gerard says, the Man in Black character was inspired by Mr. Akkad during the filming. I was conscientious enough to give freedom of interpretation to the next team of creators for H6 as to who he really is. I was attentive not to lock them in too tight of a position so they could play the card as they wished. It's also been done with a lot of directors. You have to, more recently, the latest Star Wars. I don't know what you guys are going to do with this. I don't think it was like that. Mustafa Akkad says I want a new character because I don't want I don't want the same character, and you have to admit the same character over and over and over again is boring. It can't be your protagonist, your antagonist from start to finish of a series with just people you don't care about in the middle. That's not how it works. Good example. If you look at the second episode, or is it the third episode? It's got to be whatever. The beginning of the season 2 of The Last of Us. If you know it, you know. That's I think we should have the Man in Black as a different character. Now, Akkad wanted it. He wanted it. He says, put me another character. So he said, okay, I don't want to put in a character where, the other people can just, fiddle around with my idea. I'm going to make him, a clean slate. I'm going to make him blank. And you can figure out what he want to be. You could be his brother. He could be a relative. He could be a bounty hunter. He could be somebody who was a family member of one of the victims of Michael. So, and if you think about it, he's really not needed, but I get why they put him in here. And if you watch our past episodes, the best and worst of Halloween 5, he's my favorite character. He is. I don't agree with the spurs because he doesn't have spurs on his boots. But you hear spurs clicking all the time. I don't agree with that. Steve Coldstone says, I don't remember this film at all. Straight to video here. I do remember the Man in Black and thinking, oh, fuck this. I need to rewatch this. He's not that bad. Part 6 is where they fucked it up by having it as Win. That's where they messed it up. Seriously. It didn't have to be Win. It could have been somebody completely different. It could have been, they could have said Michael escaped, from another holding cell or something like that. I don't know. They should have made this a guy who was going after Michael. not keeping him locked up and feeding him porridge and making sure he's sponge bathed every day. Come on. Yeah, they should have made that's right, Leon. They should have made him. He's someone's a creepy uncle. He didn't need to kick the dog. Okay, that wasn't a kick. The dog was sitting in his line of walking. The dog didn't have to be where he was in his walking path. Plus they're little dogs. Little dogs take too much up. So, there we go. John Jones said the bounty hunter idea makes me think of a little. Duke. Hey, Jonathan, what's going on, buddy? So you shouldn't hate the man in black. Next one. All right. What you shouldn't hate, Michael's tier. I know everybody says this is the worst part. I even say it's my worst line is when Jamie says, Uncle, boogeyman, you're just like me. Let me see. And you have a tear, and he's not supposed to have any eyes. But he says, again, to humanize him, to give him a tear. If evil, or in this case, our boogeyman knows pain or love or demonstrate a feeling of regrets, he becomes even more scary to me if he pursue his maleficent action. He shows an evil determination beyond his feelings. So he can't stop. He can't stop, which to some people that makes him more evil. There is something about somebody who is evil all the time, an evil bastard. Or there's somebody that they always say, I'll give you a good example. A lot of serial killers and a lot of dictators, for that matter, go through your history. They will say, a lot of people will say, he was a quiet person. Oh, he would come over and help me. He helped me with the groceries. He did my oil change. Oh, she was a fantastic babysitter. Oh, he loved animals and kids. And then when they find out what they really did, that's when people really get horrified. If somebody was born evil and has been evil for, in Michael's case here, 20, 25 years, because he's 31 at this point. He's 31, 32. And him shedding a tear, there's something left in him. Now, everybody will say he is not supernatural. He has supernatural elements of him. He is human. He could be, blown up. He's not coming back. He could be put in a meat grinder and he's not coming back. He could be decapitated. He's not coming back. He could be, blown up many different ways, pulled by a horse, was stampeded, whatever you can think of, run over by a truck a couple times. He's going to die. He's human. And anytime you say his name, Uncle, or Loomis says Michael, or even when Lori said Michael, he stopped. He didn't kill Loomis. He doesn't kill Loomis. We all agree here. I think we all can agree that he doesn't really kill Loomis. He stops him. And if he doesn't do that, how can a man be completely evil? How can he? How can when someone calls his name, he stops and tilts his head a little bit? How could he be completely evil if something is jogging his memory of what he used to be? Maybe this tear is just a reminder of that. Jonathan Ball says, I agree, Frank, but disagree. I think it shows him as a victim, if you will, as if something else is pushing him. It's a cop-out. Now, if it was used a trick, that would have been deadly. Well, I know what you're saying. And, I agree with you to a point. But isn't it more scary knowing that a person is hiding evil? We always say people who hurt animals are going to grow up to be something worse. It's there. People pulling the wings off butterflies or the legs off crickets and stuff like that, squashing spiders no matter what, hurting cats and dogs, but they haven't hurt people yet. It leads up to that. But yet this is the same person that comes over and helps you with the groceries, helps you, change the oil, babysits your kids. And then you allowed them to get in your life and you could have been a victim. So I understand why the tier is there. Do I have to agree with it? No. There's a lot of movies you could say that you hate because it went down a different street, a different alley, a different avenue. But saying that is a bad movie because you just don't like it and not understanding where these people are coming from and trying to find some kind of compromise, I think that's a cop-out too. So, yeah, I mean, I'm getting over the tier myself. Hey, Vanderhoff, what's going on? Yep. Nice seeing you again as well. The tier is ironically making me really salty right now. I'll get it off. I'll get it off. You know what, Steve? I'm going to keep it at that. Maybe it's allergies. that attic was so dusty. Forget it. Okay. Moving on. The Myers house. Shouldn't hate the Myers house, and here's why. Gerard says it had to have space, several specific locations like an open living room floor with many windows for the night lighting, a spooky basement where the horrible blind stabbing through the laundry chute takes place in a large ceremonial attic, all with the abandoned look. So, for the need of drama, I went away from the original house and felt too small for the climax of a film of the genre. This now makes complete sense. If you like that laundry chute scene, we all have to admit that part 5 laundry chute scene is probably one of the best chases in the franchise, best cat and mouse. You can't do that in the original Myers house. So he needed a different Myers house. We all don't like how it got big, and the Myers house is just as iconic as any other horror house. But now, seeing that you needed that larger chute scene, you needed the cat and mouse, you needed Loomis to put the chain net, you needed the attic for the ceremonial burial, stabbing, sacrifice scene. You needed all this. So, the Myers house makes sense. You needed it. You can't do that in the original. Markle, as you know, they went through the Myers house in Resurrection, and they also did it in 6, came pretty close. But if you think about it, the Resurrection house had catacombs, had a basement where he was cooking rats and slept. And it had more hiding spots and camera setup than this house ever did. But no one complains about the Myers house in Resurrection. They complain about it in this one. But yet, most of us like the laundry chute scene. I don't get it. And Jonathan Ball right here says the laundry scene is iconic, but yes, the Gothic house would have been okay if it was someone else's house or a victim's house. But yeah, if they said, where are they going to get anything to... Michael likes the Myers house, right? I don't think he was going to be able to go into a different house. John, it's possible he could. I'm trying to look at it from both aspects, and my brain is arguing with each side. And Steve says to call it the Myers house is just plain wrong. If it's the only house Michael goes into and stays and knows. And Loomis knows that's the only place where he's going to be able to go back willingly. If Loomis goes, Michael, go to the Carruthers house. You've been there before, multiple times. You know where all the hiding spots are. We'll be there. And then he's going to be like, no, it's a fucking trap. I want to go to my house because I know how to get in it without any of the cops noticing. I know where everything is. Logan says, nobody watches Resurrection enough to remember. That's probably true. Maybe the house was just remodeled and greatly added onto between movies. This house was way too house-like, and the cops get hanged just like the auntie in House. Interesting. The house is needed. That's all I'm trying to say. And Dominique Girard wanted little lighting. They started to put more lighting in it. He didn't want to do a lot with the house, but he wanted that laundry chute scene. But all the lighting people and a lot of the money came from this house and came from lighting. I didn't realize how expensive the lighting was. So yeah, I think it's. I think this house is needed. Jordan also says Michael's bed in the sewer under the House of Resurrection had all sorts of crusty spots on it. I assure you. That's the one thing I didn't like is that they made if you don't like this house, you gotta not like the Resurrection house because it made it seem that there was secret passages underneath everything. And there was a main sewer and everything going at it. Like, who does that? I mean, come on. So, yeah, you shouldn't hate the Myers house. Now, Rachel's death. This is probably the biggest problem a lot of people have. One of them. I mean, these are all big problems. But a lot of people hated Rachel's death. I am one of them. However, she was killed off so early in the film because she was a lovely, innocent, and pretty and much likable girl. It was so unfair to kill her off, and that's why I did it. I wanted to destabilize, to disturb, and shock the audience, which it did. If Ellie goes so early, that means that anything could happen next. It's been done. There's a lot of characters. What's her name? Adrienne King in part 2. Friday the 13th, part 2. She died quick, but maybe she wasn't too likable. But Rachel was a likable character. We all get shocked by when our favorite characters die and die early. Did he make a great choice? What else could there have been? Do you want the same character surviving the same movie over and over again? Rachel died. Jamie reacted to it. She especially reacted to it up in the attic, seeing her, dead like that. I think now that I'm thinking about it, I think it was the right choice. I think it was the right choice. Not the original way she was going to die with the scissors through the mouth. I think this is okay. Being stabbed in the chest or the side of the heart. So it works for me. Rachel's death is iconic. You know why? Because she was killed early. It's been done. Laurie Strode cannot be the only character to survive these movies. She can't. And she is. It stinks. Flavio says, or what about her yelling at the phone in the shower? Okay, I'm coming. Hang on. I'll be there. Yeah. Chester says, the Myers house in 6 I like. Yeah, even that has some kind of quirks if you're a purist. But it kind of looks more than that. And it looks more like the original house is when they say, John Strode he bought it when his brother couldn't sell it. And they just, it looks like they were remodeling it anyway. So, yeah, I think Rachel's death, shocking. We're still talking about it. It did its job. All right. I hate going through this one because she's not my favorite character, but annoying Tina. A lot of people actually like Tina. With Rachel gone, we needed a new character to help Jamie out that was just as loving as her, which probably Rachel. Tina was fun, sarcastic, and cared. We also wanted the audience to see that the people Jamie cares about, Michael kills as if he enjoys tormenting her. This now makes perfect sense. The only reason why Michael is outside underneath the tree in front of the children's hospital, as Dave says, kicking stones, just walking back and forth, aimlessly. He's watching Sammy. He's watching Tina, the two people that were going to go see Jamie. And he wants to torment Jamie by seeing everybody die that she cares about. She's affected by Tina's death. She's affected by Rachel's death. She's affected by Max's death. She's affected by everything around her. There is something to be said about Michael going after victims just to make sure that you are tortured more. The people you love. He's been doing that through the whole series. He has. And he's not going to kill Tina, or he's not going to kill. Throughout the franchise, he rarely kills people during the day. There's a few day kills, but there's not a lot. He's not a daytime killer. He's a stalker. We've seen that plenty of times, hiding behind the tree and H18, looking, in H5. He's just watching people. And he can hear their conversations, and he's like, okay, you're affiliated with this person. You like this person. I know the person. I'm going to kill you because it's going to affect them. I'm going to torment them. Blake, I think that would be Moby Dick. There you go. I'm going to leave it like that. He is a villain, but it's not a horror movie. I'm going to leave it that way. Steve Ross says, Tina didn't care about Jamie. She cared about getting laid and going to the Tower Farm. From any reason. You know what, Jordan? You're right. Candyman. But Tina was the next best thing to Rachel. You know why? Because she loved Jamie. She liked Jamie. But, she said to Loomis, you're really creepy filling that little girl with your boogeyman crap. She can't, she's terrified herself, but she loves Jamie. She loves her. I just can't stand her sometimes. I do that, but you shouldn't hate her. She's the next best thing to Rachel. If she were to continue in the series, that would have been okay with me. Here we go. The Mask. The number one thing people hate is this mask. I think so. Now, is it growing on us? 36 years later, it's going to have to. Gerard says, how could I make this character feel human and alive when he has no right to speak and when we cannot see his face expression? As latex is a perishable material, we had to create a new series of masks for him. And with KMBSFX team, we went for a human interpretation of evil. I wanted also to distance myself from the plastic shiny look of the hockey mask of Friday the 13th. I don't know how he got that. I apologize for those who feel offended, but I stand by my innovative choices, and Makad did too, understanding my motivations and wanting to check them out on this version of a Halloween story. This is the Nick Cage. Vanderhoff says he doesn't hate the mask. Rich Shaw says, hey, Rich Shaw, what's going on? He says, I love how unhinged and unsettling it is. Yep. Chester goes, the way Tina gets killed by Michael is great. I can rewind that over and over again. Jordan Decker says, this mask looks like Napoleon Dynamite with a seating highline. We have all said Nick Cage. I think it was also done because Don Shanks broke his nose. So they made it to every Michael has had a different head. No pun intended. It's been stretched out. There's never besides, 18 kills and what's the freaking third one? Oh, why am I blanking on that? 18 kills and ends. Whew, ends. No other one had the mask except for 1 and 2. But it's been changed. All of it has been changed. I think the worst part for masks in the series, the worst movie, is H2O. There was 4 of those bastards, and one and including a digital. I mean, come on. This is not the worst mask in history. It's iconic, and it's still around. You know, Don Shanks brings it around, brings it to him all the time. He's married to that. So he actually looks a little bit more evil. He has the brow coming down. Instead of having that emotionless blank face, you know, the emotionless mask, this one does have a little emotion, which Gerard was trying to do. So that is my last slide. Like I said, I was going to keep this to about an hour or so. So is this movie defendable? Okay, let's get my my conclusion here. Next slide. It's half defendable. There are some things that are unforgivable, but yet there are some things that you can look past. This movie is not that bad. It's not as bad as some of them. I think Resurrection is worse. Even that could be defended. I think Kills without Michael is horrible. Evil Dies Tonight over and over and over again. It gets on. This movie, if you think about it, Halloween 5 was almost you can actually say it's almost the same as Halloween Ends. Now think about that. Think about what I said. Halloween Ends and Halloween 5 are almost the same on a marginal baby shoe level. Victims in each going after family members. Weak Michael, you know, evil being transferred or evil, you know, being with somebody, you know, from the start. No Man in Black, but I think that's a bit. I think that's the best way I can say it, is that Halloween 5 falls in line with Halloween Ends. You know, it's a Jamie story. It's not a Michael story. It's a Jamie story, just like how Ends is a Corey story. That's what it is. And like Liana says right here, Halloween 5 is fun in its own way. We'll watch this movie. It's half defendable. You can defend this movie if you think about it. I hope I did a good enough job. Drunk Loomis is the only reason why I watch this. He's the best thing about it, right? Jordan Decker says, third worst in this series, in my opinion, behind Resurrection and Rob Zombie's H2. Resurrection, I don't like. I defended it. I tried to. I'm always hoping with these series, I can always try to defend it at least to where you can actually say, okay, I can watch it, but I'm still not going to sit there and like it. I'll sit there in front of my TV going, I don't like this. And then just take a glance now and then at your favorite part. Because if you really didn't like it, you would have gotten up and left. But no. It's on again. Not going to watch it. I don't like it. Can you pass the popcorn, I guess? I'll sit here and deal with it. That's it. So Chester says, the only thing I like about H5 is the kills and the score. And Rickshaw says, I think it's the third worst in the series. And there's always going to be something that's going to be lowest on your tier and highest on your tier. And if it's somewhere in the middle, then it can be defended. You know, if it's third in your tier, then there must be something better than the rest of them. And you can defend where it is placed in your tier. I never heard somebody say that this is last for them. I never heard that yet. Let me go back to the bigger screen here. Jonathan Ball says defendable. I think for our generation, it's out of nostalgia for us. I think AMC heard this movie for rerunning it for 20 years. Now I think H3 is more favorable for AMC reruns. I love H3 when it comes on TV. I have to admit though, ladies and gentlemen, I won't lie. Halloween 5 I skip over the most. I'll watch it once and then I skip over it, over and over and over again. Liana says, this was a great rundown. Now do Scream. Forget that. I can't defend that crap. It got me going. And Rich Shaw says, I personally think Halloween 6 is incredibly underrated. I do too. It is one of my favorites in the franchise. And I think Michael in that one is brutal. I think he's savage. The guy takes a grenade launcher to the chest and gets up. And I think, though he's quite portly, he's a little bit older now, Michael, and George P. Wilbur did a great job, but I think that's underrated as well. But thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for showing up. Go back on Dave's channel now. Watch him celebrate 45 years of one of the worst movies of the franchise for Friday the 13th. Darren and I don't like it. We can, I think it's boring. And we are proud to admit that. For me, the series franchise starts with part 2. And for you mothers out there, please have a great Mother's Day. Be pampered and, be spoiled and don't lift a finger. That's what the husband and the kids are for. All right. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. I'll see you next time.